safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome on your own special safari. The kids of Allenton, Windsor Oaks, and Colegio San Patricio. You are watching Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Now, you're watching us, of course, as many of you will know, from the middle of Africa. Well, actually, the south of Africa, in a country called South Africa, and in that country, a big piece of land, 3.5 million hectares in extent, called the Greater Kruger National Park. My name is James, and for the course of this lesson, we want you to ask us as many questions as you possibly can. There's a whole lot of sticks behind you there. Jean-Andre is on camera, and we'd love to hear from you. My friend Byron is out looking for cheetah and elephants today, and my friend Tristan is looking for a leopard, so who knows what will happen. Maybe we'll find them, maybe we won't. We also are out here looking for a leopard, perhaps, way down to the south of the reserve, but we're also going to be looking at little things. Now, this is a very special plant that has a very difficult name, so I want you to all listen very carefully. The name is Syncolostemum bracteosus. Syncolostemum bracteosus. Now, you're going to say it with me together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Syncolostemum bracteosus. Once more, Syncolostemum bracteosus. And you know why it's called that? I'm not sure what syncolostemum means, but bracteosus means these things. These are bracts. They're not, in fact, flowers. The flower is this little white thing here with tiny little spots of purple on it. Isn't it pretty? And it smells delicious. I don't know if you know what basil is. Perhaps some of your mums grow basil in the garden. Or indeed your dads might also grow. My dad grows basil in the garden. And that's what they smell like. Basil. Right, I said my friend Byron was out looking for elephants. Well, turns out he's had some luck.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have indeed found some elephant, and they were just in some mud, splashing themselves, trying to cool down in this hot afternoon. Now, you can see this little one's throwing sand on its back. And they also do that to help cool themselves. Isn't this great? And they're not far from us. They're right in front of the vehicle. Few meters, very close. And they're feeding as they're moving around. But they did splash themselves a little bit in water to help cool themselves down. They do enjoy the mud and they do enjoy the water. What a great start. Good afternoon again. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this afternoon is Craig. So what a lovely start to see these elephants so close to the vehicle. I'm just going to see where they are heading. They are going just south of our boundary at the moment, so we won't be able to follow them, but we'll just see. They are close to the road still. Now, don't forget, everyone, send us your questions. Oh, look at this. What a lovely view. So, as you can see, they generally just steadily feeding, enjoying the lush green vegetation. The elephants feed on grass and trees and just about any vegetation, the leaves of the trees, any vegetation they can find, especially this time of year. What a wonderful view. Now, Justice, I'm not sure where these elephants are going. They'll move wherever they want. They'll cover large distances. They'll feed on vegetation, as we can see. As long as they're constantly moving and feeding, the elephant are happy. They'll move anywhere they want, really. And every now and then, they'll come past a water hole, just like we saw earlier. And it's just so that they can get something to drink. And then they're back in the road again. Elephants, especially in this hot summer. I'm just going to move forward a little bit for us. In the hot summer, they do enjoy water. They do need a lot of water. So they go and look for water and just move around and constantly feeding. This is such a great elephant sighting. I hope all of you are enjoying it as much as we are. Now we're very close to them. Let's see, they're just off to our left. And there's some young ones too. There we might see that you saw the young little one earlier throwing some sand on himself. So Dominica, if you look carefully, watch these elephants. They use those beautiful trunks to tear the grass or break the branches or pull the leaves off the trees, and then they push whatever food they've got, they put in their mouths with their trunk. Can you see that? You see how they're using their trunk to put the food, the grass, in their mouth, and that's how they feed. And then they just chew whatever they've broken off or pulled off, and they'll chew on that, and that is how they eat. A really exciting start, and I'm so glad you got to see the elephant with us. We're going to carry on towards Cheetah Plains this afternoon. It's a different area. That's our plan. But while I do that, Tristan would like to say good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sunset Safari with me, Tristan, and Dave on camera. We're here at the Djuma Dam. Given that it's been a very, very hot day today, the two of us thought we'd just come down and have a little look around and see what's possibly going on at the dam. And to our surprise, there's been lots and lots and lots of different species here. We've got lots of Nyala, there's some Waterbuck, Wildebeest, Impalas, Baboons, and quite a few nice birds that are around. There's one bird in particular that I'd like to start with, which is over on our right-hand side over here. And this little bird that is sitting on the top of that dead tree there is called a purple indigo bird. Now, these little indigo birds, while they are quite pretty, you can see it's jet black in coloration with that bright white beak and white legs. And that bird, while they are very, very pretty, are actually very, very naughty birds. They are much like the cuckoos in that they parasitize other birds, and so what these guys will do is they will find the nests of firefinches in particular, and they will knock the eggs out and lay their eggs inside. And generally the eggs look exactly the same as the firefinch's eggs, and so the little mother doesn't have any idea that there's been a robber in her nest, and is able to then come and sit on those eggs, incubate them, and when the chick hatches, the bird is so attached to those little babies that it begins to feed them, even though that chick will eventually develop into a completely different bird, which is quite amazing. Now, generally with these little guys, it is actually quite tough to see them. They tend to kind of flitter about and don't really sit still for long periods of time. And this guy has been more than obliging for us. He's been sitting for a long period now, and what a beautiful sighting it is of him out in the open like that. Very, very, very nice. And he's chirping away, I'm sure looking for a mate of some sort. But like I say, on our other side here, on where the dam is, like I say, with a multitude of species that are hanging around. You can see there's some Nyalas in the foreground. So those are nice big male Nyalas, and then a Waterbuck in the background. So Justice would like to know, what are baboons? Well, baboons are a type of monkey, or ape to be correct, and you can see the one there now in shot. That is a young baboon that is busy moving around looking for any signs of food. Given that it's been quite warm today, most of them have come down for water, but around the watery sources are a lot of little plants that are growing from the muddy, watery areas that are packed full of nutrition, lots of grasses that are seeding, like you saw there. The baboon grabbed the grass and just pulled off all those seeds. So they're down here at the moment looking for any signs of food. You'll find that they don't pose any threat to any of the other wildlife that is around. They will not be eating Nyalas or Waterbuck or Wildebeest. They're all far too large for a baboon. So in this area, mostly what they're going to be eating at the moment is grass and grass seeds and little roots and tubers. And there are the odd marula trees around, which they'll be going after as well. There's quite a few fruits that have dropped off the marula trees at the moment that are absolutely delicious, and so these baboons will be targeting those. And you can see there, that's a female with her youngsters. You'll often find them sitting up on trees like this, where they will have a nice lookout to be able to see any sign of predators. So they'll be looking for things like lions or leopards or birds of prey, and while they're up there you'll find there'll be quite a bit of grooming that will go on. So they'll check each other for ticks. They're very, very social animals and very tightly bonded. So the mothers will go through their little ones and make sure the little ones are free of parasites. As you can see by the one on the right there, is having a good look at her little one, parting the fur and looking for any signs of ticks. And they'll either use their mouth or they'll use their fingers to be able to pull off those little ticks as they go. But it seems like I'm destined to start with baboons. Yesterday afternoon was the exact same thing. We had baboons running around, and this afternoon, first thing again, baboons all over the place. Not complaining though, they often can be quite a tough animal to find, so having a nice troop of baboons nice and relaxed and running around is always quite special. They've got so many characteristics that are so similar to us as humans that, you know, just watching them, it often kind of reminds us of what we were like as kids and how we are when we playing around. So I like to spend time with baboons. They fascinate me. So Jackson would like to know why they eat grass. Jackson, at the moment, at this time of the year, a lot of the grasses have lots and lots and lots of seeds, and those seeds are packed full of great nutrients, lots of sugars that they can get from that. And so what they do is they eat those seeds to get a lot of nutrients, and it's very, very easy for them. They don't have to expend much energy. They can come down, grab a handful of grass, put it through their mouth and eat those seeds without having to really do too much. So in terms of a baboon, rather than going and climbing a tall tree to go get a nice big pile of fruit, they would rather just sit on the ground and pull little stems and eat like that and be nice and lazy about it. It's like going to your favorite takeaway and getting a burger or something like that. But isn't that quite nice with all of them sitting together? So Jana would also like to know why the baboons have tails. Well, Jana, the baboons have tails for when they are climbing. A baboon and monkeys in general are generally very, very good climbers. They like to go up and down trees and up onto branches and fallen over trees like we saw just now. And so that tail just helps to balance the baboon. So as they're going up, the tail will move and it will be able to help with them balancing so that they don't fall out the tree. And that's why they have the tails. You can see the little lonely wildebeest also in front there. So this is a male all on his own. It's quite common to find the males like this. They unfortunately, as they become dominant or older, more physically strong males, they are kicked out by older males that are in the herds, and they have to then go off on their own for a while and find their own territory to set up. And so you'll find that they sometimes kind of push out into areas like this where we've got a nice open clearing, a bit of water, and there's a multitude of other species that it can kind of latch onto to use as a safety blanket. So it'll use the baboons and the impalas to the right there, the nyalas, the waterbuck, all as basically an alarm system for them. So they can sit with their head down feeding, and while all of these other animals are around, they're able to then feed quite easily and hope that those other animals will see any predator and be able to then warn him so that he can then make his way out of there. So Bruce would like to know if, I think it was wildebeest, just correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, or baboons. Okay, so if baboons travel long distances, or if they stay in their same area. Now, Baboons, it depends on the area and it depends on the resources available. In a situation like this where we're in the summer months, there's lots of vegetation around, lots of food available, so lots of fruits, lots of grasses, they typically won't go too far. They'll also have areas that they love to inhabit, where there's big tall trees like you can see in the background there, where they can go up and roost in at night. And so generally they have a home kind of range, and they'll move around that area within the day and mostly come back to that same tree to roost most nights. When it comes into winter and things get a little bit drier and it becomes a lot harder to find food, then you'll find the baboons will cover a lot more distance to be able to find the food that they need and water that they need to survive. Looks like that baboon there has got a marula fruit in its mouth. So I will try and find you guys a marula fruit a little bit later, or maybe James will have one on the walk. We'll just see how it goes. But it's a very, very nutritious fruit that's come out in the last few weeks, and they love the taste of them, so they pack them in and they eat them, and that's probably what he's busy chewing on there. Speaking of James, James is still out on his walk and has some interesting things for you guys to see, so we're going to cross over to him and see what he's got for us.
It's a very special thing that we have here, everybody. It's called a butterfly. Obviously, many of you will know that, but it's tiny. It's about ½ an inch long, and it's called a blue. And there are lots of different kinds of blues, and I don't know which blue this one is, but he's one of the blues. Isn't he special? I'll just quickly point at him in case maybe you can't see him where you're sitting now. There he is. Now, as soon as you stop and you start looking at little things like this around a small tree, you will find lots of other things if you keep your eyes open. And there's something very, 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 very small here. I'm going to point with my grass. Just over there on the end of that leaf. Can you see it, Chandra? A very tiny, minute little grasshopper, probably only about 2 millimeters long. It's so small that I'm amazed we can even film it. It's so tiny. And one of the things that we do here is we use a microscope sometimes. I don't know if you guys know what a microscope is, but that would look perfect underneath the microscope. Isn't that cool? And in the background, I can hear thunder rolling in. And there's nothing nicer than the thunder of an African storm after a very hot day. 35 degrees Celsius odd out here, 96 degrees Fahrenheit, very warm indeed. Isn't that special? Shall we see while we sit here with you if we can't find something else on this amazing plant? Now, there are 2 or 3 different kinds of plants. The grasshopper is sitting on something called a monkey pod, and that's what we're looking at now. And the monkey pod often has things like caterpillars sitting on it, and the monkey pod smells terrible. If you pick a piece and sniff it, it really doesn't smell nice. And that means that, of course, that often there are things in it that are poisonous, and that means that the caterpillars that eat it will be poisonous too. I'm afraid I missed the name for this one. Joseph. Well done, Joseph. Apparently you want to know, can butterflies see, or how do they see? Well, they see with eyes. They've got little eyes, but they don't see like you and I see, Joseph. They kind of only see light and dark almost. They've got what we call simple eyes. And, well, they've probably got compound eyes as well, so they can make a small image, but nothing like you and I can make an image. So they wouldn't be able to recognize, I don't think, say, me and the difference between you and me. But what they can do, some butterflies are able to navigate, so to be able to find their direction by looking at the stars. So their eyes are very effective. They can work. Isn't that amazing? Something so small with a brain so very tiny is able to navigate using the stars. Isn't that cool? All right, let's carry on going. It's very cool. Justin, that is a very good question to which I'm not convinced that there's a very easy answer. You say, why are butterflies so colorful? Well, you know, we think sometimes that it's to warn predators. So I don't know if you know what a monarch butterfly looks like. It's orange and black. But just about everything out here that is orange and black and yellow is a warning to predators. It says to predators, don't eat me, I'm poisonous. So if you find anything in the wilderness that's orange or black or yellow or red, you can almost be certain that it is poisonous. Or, in the case of something like what we call a diadem, and some of the other butterflies we get out here, they're not poisonous, but they look like they're poisonous. So that's quite clever. And what they're trying to do is trick the predators that they might have, which are normally birds, into thinking that they're poisonous, and in that way they won't be eaten. So that's what they do. That's why they color that orange and black and yellow and red color. But then animals can be colored, or butterflies can be colored for camouflage. So they can be green and look just like the grass that they're flying through. That blue, for example, is camouflaged when he folds his wings up. He looks like he's impossible to see, but when he opens his wings out, they're actually quite blue and quite beautiful to see. And I think that's probably to attract other blue butterflies for mating and that sort of thing. So there are lots of different reasons why butterflies might be colored, and that's a really good question, because of course it's not easy to make color in a body. Let's just have a look here. Sean, while I explain this to you, I want you to just have a look over these trees. These are those monkey pod trees, and I want you to see how they do not have any leaves on them whatsoever. Not one leaf left on them. Can you see that, Sean? And everyone else? That's because the caterpillars have eaten every single leaf. Isn't that amazing? And I can't find one caterpillar, which tells me that they must be pupating. And pupating means that they are now turning into butterflies. They're going to be beautiful little green butterflies, like a minty green color. Sean, navigate means to find your way. So, for example, if you were to drop me in the middle of this wilderness and say to me, find your way home, I would have to navigate going home, either by following the clouds or the wind direction or the sun direction or something like that. That's what navigate is. It means to find your way. And I wonder if your mum doesn't have, or your dad doesn't have something like a GPS in the car. That GPS that talks to your mum or your dad while they're driving. It says, turn left in 90 meters. That is navigating. It's just doing it automatically. Good question, Sean. I'm just going to quickly see if I can't find one of those caterpillars here, but I think they've probably all gone down into the ground to pupate. Ooh. Ah, I can see something here. And this thing, oh look, this is a very special thing here. Wow. It is a caterpillar. Oh. Now it's gone. Unfortunately, my cameraman is what we call ham-footed. What does this look like, everybody? I bet if you walked past that, you would think that it was a bunch of grass. And it isn't. Inside it is a caterpillar. And I spotted this caterpillar only because he was hanging on the side of the branch. And I'm not even going to open him up. I'm just going to put him back here. He's going to come out of this as a butterfly. And he's called a bagworm. That's the kind of caterpillar is. He's called a bagworm. Isn't that cool? And he's very protected there, you see, because any bird that comes past here that likes to eat caterpillars is going to see that and think, ugh, I don't want to eat grass, I want to eat caterpillars. I'm really struggling to hear the names through my earpiece. No, Jean-Andre? Once more, Kirsten. No, didn't get it. You're going to have to spell it. Gasgar. Right, I don't know how to say that name, and you're all the way in Mexico. Maybe it's Gaspar. Gaspar, yes, I know that name. That's a good name. Gaspar, you want to know what the most dangerous thing out here is? Well, Gaspar, you won't believe me when I tell you, but it's not a lion or a leopard or an elephant or anything like that. It's a mosquito, because the mosquitoes here give us diseases, and one of those diseases is malaria, which is very dangerous, and it kills more people in Africa than all of the big wild animals point together. So not crocodiles or hippos or lions or leopards or buffalo, but the Anopheles mosquito. Look over here. Every time I stop, I see something interesting. Ooh! Look, it's a spider. You see that spider? Isn't that clever? And it's some form of hunting spider. I don't think it's a crab spider. I think it's a hunting spider of some kind. And what it's done here is create, I think, a little sack for its eggs. It's going to lay the eggs there and then go off and probably do it again, sitting in a grass called the pinhole grass. Isn't that cool? Right, now that's a very small thing, and we don't want to get bitten by that, because some spiders can give us a rather nasty bite, but very few of them are actually dangerous. Let's head across to Tristan, who's got something much, much, much bigger than this.
Yes, indeed, James. We do have something a little bit larger on our left-hand side here. As we kind of came down the road, we stumbled upon this nice breeding herd of elephants. And so what we have here is a whole bunch of females and their little babies that are busy feeding along slowly as they go. And the one that you can see there now is one of the younger ones. It's a little teenager. And you can see that its ears are moving quite extensively. So the ears are flapping back and forth, and that is because of the heat that is around today. With these elephants being big, large grey animals, they tend to absorb quite a lot of sunshine and get very, very hot. And so what they do is that they'll flap their ears like that, and they have a whole bunch of veins on the back side of their ear that's covered by a very, very thin layer of skin. And so as they flap those ears, the wind is being pulled over that blood and is cooling that elephant right down and keeping it nice and cool. Alright, and they reckon that with a series of a few flaps that this elephant is able to rotate its entire blood volume, which is over 350 liters of blood, through its body and through its ears, and cool the blood by as much as 2 to 3 degrees centigrade, which in Fahrenheit is about 9 degrees, which is crazy. They seem to be wandering off into a bit of a thicket there. Unfortunately, the area that we're in is quite dense, and given that it's so warm, I'm sure they're trying to find a bit of shade. So Jackson would like to know why the elephants put sand on them. So Jackson, the reason that they do that is to help exfoliate their skin. So basically what that means is as they throw the sand on, you'll find that coarseness of the sand will be able to get rid of any dead skin cells that they might have. They'll often go and rub on branches and things like that, and that will cause them to get rid of any dead or dying skin cells that they may have on them. It also controls the amount of parasites that they have on them, so they'll be able to choke out any ticks or mites that may be on their skin, and will just keep their skin in really good condition. But isn't it cute, the little baby there in the middle? You can see it's just learning how to use its trunk. That little baby is probably now approaching 2 to 3 years old, and so will be fairly good with the trunk. It hasn't quite mastered it just yet, but is able to start breaking off little branches and leaves, and will be able to feed itself a little bit now. But they still don't quite have it down pat yet. You'll find the trunk flails around and moves around quite a bit, trying to grab little leaves and branches to mimic what the mother does. At this stage it will still be on its mom's milk as well. So Sean would like to know why an elephant's ears are so big. There's 2 reasons for that, Sean. One is because, like I was saying, it helps to just control the temperature of this animal. So the bigger the ear, the more blood that can flow through it, the more that when they flap, the more air is being pulled over and cooling their blood down. And the second reason is that ear acts like a big satellite dish. Alright, so it's basically like a massive bowl that catches all the sound. So if you're sitting at home right now and you have anybody that's talking nearby, or you're listening to me, put your hand over your ear like this and just listen to how much louder it sounds. And that is the exact same thing for the elephants. Right, they'll push their ears out and it helps for them to catch sounds, and they're able to then hear what's going on around them. Now, unfortunately, the Ellies, like I say, are just going into a really dense thicket. I'm going to just try and see if I can just go around a little bit. The road kinks slightly, and they seem to be moving kind of parallel with us. So I'm just going to try and see if I can get a slightly better visual. There was also some warthogs around, so I'm going to, hopefully they'll still be here. So Liz Fort would like to know, what do elephants eat? Well, they have quite a varied array of food items that they go after, but everything that they do eat is a vegetarian-based diet. So they will go after bark, leaves, roots, tubers, fruits from the trees, anything kind of that description. They are very, very, very good at digging, so you'll often find them digging out little leaves and tubers and roots and those kind of things. But otherwise, vegetation, plants, and at this time of the year, quite a lot of fruits. Unfortunately, they've gone into a very dense area. It's going to be very difficult for us to follow them, so we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. We're on a bit of a mission to try see if we can find any lions this afternoon, so we're going to try start heading more to the western side of our area and see if there's any lions that possibly are hanging around there. Alright guys, so while we're off looking for lions, we're going to go back to Byron and see what Byron's up to and see what he's managed to find down on Cheetah Plains.
So we haven't managed to find anything just yet, but we are on Cheetah Plains, so we're heading to the beautiful clearings, and I'm hoping that we might see some cheetah out there. We still got a little bit of a drive until we get there, but we will be passing some water holes, so you never know, we could find some animals drinking and maybe moving around. And it's been wonderful start with all those elephant around. Really great to see them. And Tristan also had the Wildebeest. He had quite a few different animals there. I'm scanning very, very carefully to make sure I don't miss any animals around here. Hello Daniel, all the way from Mexico. You asked what is my favorite animal and why. So Daniel, my favorite animal, and I'll show you a picture of one quickly because some of you might not have heard about this animal. It's called a honey badger. Now that is my favorite animal. We don't get to see them very often. They generally move around at night, so it is quite difficult to find them and see them. But let me show you a picture. Hold on, I'm going to stop up ahead. I'll show you what a honey badger looks like. And then my second favorite would definitely be a elephant. I love elephant. They are one of my favorites. Hang on a second. There we go. Daniel, let me show you and everyone else. That is a honey badger. Now that is my favorite animal. You can see very cute little creature, but very tough. They are not afraid of anything, and they are incredibly tough. Even lions, these honey badgers are not afraid of lions and other predators. Just amazing little creatures, but we don't see them very often, unfortunately. They move around at night and it's not always easy to find them, but that's my favorite animal. And then a close second, the elephant. So it was so nice for me to sit close to those elephant earlier. Just going to have a look. There's some water just up ahead. Let's see if there's anything around there, if there's anything possibly drinking. I did want to find some buffalo this afternoon too. Let's have a look. Oh dear, nothing here at the moment. That's quiet. Very quiet. But we've got a beautiful bird. Oh, there it flies. Will it sit for us again? There we go. Have a look at that. A beautiful European roller. Now have a look. He's sitting up in the tree. Bit difficult with the light at the moment, but you might get a nice view of him. Now, an interesting thing about the European roller is it migrates. So when we have our winter, now as you can see, and we were talking about it earlier, it's very hot here at the moment because we are in our summer months, so very different to some of our viewers at the moment up in North America and Mexico and those places. You'd probably be having winter now, but our summer months we get a lot of birds that visit here for the summer, and then when it's our winter they start leaving and they migrate, which means they move north up to northern Africa and to Europe. And these European rollers do fly all the way north to Europe, and then they come back for the summer again next year. So nice to see him. Beautiful, beautiful bird. Deanna, now birds have colour, I think, for a few reasons. One is to attract another bird, a mate, and so that hopefully they can lay eggs and hopefully have little chicks. But I think maybe it's also to distinguish between the different bird species, maybe to recognize their own species. I'm not entirely sure if there are other reasons. Yeah, I really don't know. Oh, there's some thunder in the distance. You might have heard that. But I think most of the time it's purely to recognize each other, I think, and to attract another mate, either a male or a female. Now, moving from this lilac-breasted roller, the European roller, Tristan has a lilac-breasted roller he'd like to show you.
Thanks, Byron. So yes, we have another species of roller that we get here in this particular area. This one, as Byron mentioned, is a lilac-breasted roller and is probably one of the most beautiful birds that we have. You can see that beautiful lilac throat and breast area where it gets its name, and those bright blue wing edges that you see there. Now I'm hoping that this guy, once he's finished perching, will fly for us, and you'll be able to see the electric blue wings that come down. If he doesn't fly, we don't worry. We've got a bird book here that we'll be able to have a look at and show you those wings. Now, these guys often like to sit on these kind of dead trees, where from there they have an excellent vantage point to be able to look for any signs of insects that they possibly can grab. So you'll find that they'll swoop down from there, grab an insect, and then back onto their perch, where they will then consume it. All rollers that we get in this particular area are all predatory birds, so they will all hunt insects mostly. I have seen a few records of them going after very small mammals and even frogs sometimes, but generally it's mostly insects with them. You can see the breeze, and there it goes. So I don't know if you guys got that nice blue wing, but if you didn't, like I say, I do have a book here, so we're going to quickly just show you guys what those wings look like. So if we have a look, you can see this is the lilac-breasted roller there, and have a look at those wings when it's open. Absolutely magnificent. Alright, absolutely beautiful bird, and probably one of the most photographed birds in Africa. They're quite common throughout, so you see them quite often. So Gianna would like to know why birds like to sit on trees. So the reason is that on those trees, especially big open branches like the one that roller was sitting on, those branches are nice and open, and so it allows that bird to have a very good visual of the surrounding area, so it can see any signs of food that it potentially would want. Also, in dead trees like that, you'll find that there's no sort of obstruction for the wings, and so when they take off, the wings can open really nicely, and they're able to then fly away quite easily. So it's a really nice way of being comfortable and being able to do what they need to do when they need to do it. Alright guys, so now that that roller is flown away, we're going to carry on and see if we can continue our search for these lions that have been a bit elusive over the last couple of days. So we're going to just keep heading slowly west. So far there's been no sign of them. We haven't seen any tracks or anything yet. I'm just going on a hunch at this stage, but hopefully it will pay off and we'll be able to find something later on. But as we go, we're going to try and see if we can just check some of the water holes as we go. Given that it's quite warm, hopefully we'll find some of the antelope, maybe some buffalo or elephants that might be wallowing and trying to get nice and cool. Also, never know, sometimes the cats like to come down and they like to come and have a drink in these late afternoon heat. So that's the kind of plan so far. Hopefully we will be successful. So, question from Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Thomas, you want to know what the largest bird is that lives here in South Africa. In South Africa, the largest bird that we have is an ostrich. Alright, it is a very, very, very large bird. It's not able to fly, but it is incredibly big and is the largest bird that we have here. We do sometimes see ostrich when we're very, very lucky in this area, but they are quite rare. They tend to like more arid, drier areas and more open spaces. As you can see, the terrain that we have around here is quite dense and quite thick, and so not really suitable for an ostrich. Unfortunately, they'll be hunted too much by things like lion and leopard and cheetahs in particular, so they like to hang around more in the open sections where they can stay a lot safer. Now, on the tree to our right here, just going to try to see if we can get a nice picture of it. You can hear it busy calling. Is a red-billed hornbill. Now, these hornbills are very, very common here, but they are incredibly interesting little birds. I really, really like them. They have quite a lot of character. They're often not the brightest. You'll find they come up to windows and will peck at their own reflection from time to time. But I like their character. I like the way that they go about things. They're often in the thick of everything, hopping about, looking for food items, bullying other birds away from it. So I really, really like them. They've got an almost comical look to them. Hopefully he's going to turn his head. There we go. And you can see that nice big red beak now that comes down. And that big red beak is needed. So these guys are also insect eaters, just like the roller. Unfortunately, it's just flown away. But yeah, they are insect eaters just like the roller. So they need that big beak to be able to pick out insects that are possibly burrowing in the ground, like crickets or worms, and even into bark areas where there's dead trees that have a little bit of bark that's covering. That's things like scorpions can hide in. So they'll often go after those things. So they're quite resourceful little birds, and are often very, very good at, like I say, getting to hard to reach places with that big long beak. Ah, nice. So just to our right here, we've got a female kudu that's just run off. So I'm sure she just got a little bit disturbed by the vehicle. It's not that she's being chased by anything at this stage. It's quite a common thing for kudu. They often, if they're out in a little bit of an open section, they like to just run behind some sort of a thicket, and that's where they know that they'll be far more camouflaged. So you can see very nicely there those big white stripes that come down the body. Those are there to be able to break up this animal's outline and make it harder for us to see it. You can imagine when he goes behind the trees just like that. Look at how the body is broken by those stripes, and so you don't see the whole kudu. All you see is just little broken patterns here and there, and so it becomes very, very well camouflaged. I'm sure there will be some more of them around here. They are normally in small groups together. Very seldom will you find them just on their own like that, particularly a female. The males often will spend time on their own, but females generally in small groups. I'm sure there'll be some more around here. But while we carry on our search, we're going to go back to James and see what he's got in store for us.
I want you to be very, very quiet, everyone. cross. And when they get cross, well, then sometimes we have to climb a tree very quickly because they come and look for us. Now, I know that's not the best view you've ever seen of a buffalo or of an animal, but we're on foot, which means we're walking in Africa, which means we have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, we could get chased by them, and we don't want that. Now, Jaden, you want to know how buffalo catch their prey? Buffalo don't have prey. Buffalo eat grass. I'm checking which way the wind's blowing, because I don't want them to smell us here. Jaden, they eat grass, they don't eat anything else, so they don't have to catch any prey. And they are eaten by lions quite often. And lions are quite nervous of them as well. Now there is another animal there called a Nyala. And the buffalo has seen the Nyala. But the buffalo won't mind the Nyala, and the Nyala won't mind the buffalo. But what we don't want is for the Nyala to see us and make a noise, and then the buffalo will look this way, and then they will see us, and then we'll have to climb a tree very quickly. Isn't this very exciting, everyone? And sometimes in Africa everything is very calm and beautiful and easy, and it's not dangerous at all. But often we have to be very careful. The two Nyala there. Alright kids, that's going to be the end of our drive here today on our safari. I hope you had a good time. We're going to be very quiet and we're going to move away now. And for the rest of you, stay with us. Byron has got some carmine coloured birds.
James, you're very brave to view those buffalo on foot. You best keep quiet. Welcome back to everyone. The kids have just left us, I think, the schools. It's always nice to have the school drives with us, but look at these beautiful carmine bee-eaters. They are one of my favorite little birds, and I've not seen... I'm just trying to think. I have seen them this season, but not on Safari Live. I saw them in another area just north of here. So to see them here is really, really great. And they are so beautiful. Have a look at that. I think Taylor saw them the other day too. The carmine bee-eaters. There was another one on the branch below there. You can just see them. A lot of thunder at the moment. I think it's all threatening. I don't think it's really going to rain though. And that's possibly why there's so much activity from these bee-eaters. There, you can hear them calling. I wonder if you can hear that. Lovely, lovely to hear them. Now, often in weather like this, the bee-eaters do become very active. The European bee-eaters, we know, fly a lot. They fly around a lot. When there is bad weather on the way, they get very active, often trying to catch insects and that, but you can see these carmine bee-eaters pretty much the same. I think the increase in wind and the thunder in the distance possibly triggered something for them to become a bit more active. They're not flying around at the moment, but calling is lovely to hear. Nice to see them. I'm so glad we got to see them. And as I said, I haven't seen them on Safari Live yet this year, so that's first. I haven't seen them on Safari Live, so first for me on Safari Live, if that makes sense. But I did see some earlier this season, just north of here in the Timbavati area. Wow, there's some lightning in the distance. Might get a nice glimpse of that shortly too. Now I'm going to have a look around here quickly and just see if we can't find the cheetah that were in this area this morning. Let's have a look. I mean, cheetah do move during the day. They're not always in the same place. They're unlike leopards and lions who generally stay in one area. Oh, there goes bee-eaters. Yeah, that is so beautiful. Really, really so beautiful to see them. So the cheetah will move around during the day and possibly even try and hunt. But if it is very hot, they will go lie down and rest. I'm trying to scan very carefully. I'm going to stop here for a second. Let's have a look around. Let's scan. What I'm looking for is any movement or anything lying under, possibly under some trees. I think because of the heat, they may look for some shade. So let's have a look. Well, they could really be anywhere. Oh dear. I don't see anything just yet. We'll keep looking around here though, just in case. They could be anywhere. Quite a few Carmine bee eaters in this area at the moment. Which is interesting. They've obviously just come in fairly recently. I don't see any sign of them just yet, but we will double check and have a look. Oh, there's another Carmine bee eater in front of us. Now, James, you asked if I enjoy tracking. I do, James, I do, but it is very difficult. It's not easy, and I must be honest, I was very fortunate. I worked at a lodge for many years with a tracker who's still a good friend of mine, and his name was Judas, and I learned a lot from him. Now, Judas grew up in this area, originally from Mozambique, but he grew up tracking and following animals, and as a young boy he would look after the family livestock. But his knowledge of the bush and understanding of animals was incredible, and I learned a lot from him. How to track animals, where to look, more or less, to give you a better idea. James, I think a tip for anybody who wanted to get into tracking was, you need to start with the basics. So you need to start going and identifying tracks, looking in the sand, identifying the tracks, knowing exactly what it is you are looking at first before you have any chance of trying to follow those tracks and look for those animals and try and find them. Now, identification is a very important part of it, but it takes time and it takes practice, and you need to be out there constantly. A lot of people, technically tracking is a science. It's a complete science. It's understanding and looking for animals. It's not easy. And like I said, with my friend Judas, I was very fortunate because he understood tracking, and he could find and see little tracks that I would often struggle to see. He just had a natural knack for it. He understood it. He could see a lot better. Now, I'm just going to turn around here quickly. I don't see any sign of these cheetahs at the moment. But, so Judas, I think somebody like that I learnt a lot from. And I did used to enjoy tracking with him. Him and I would get off a vehicle and we tracked many animals. Many animals would go off and track, especially lion and leopard. And we found, the amount of animals we found on foot together, it was incredible. But as I said, it's not easy. Steph, all the way from Belgium. Hello, Steph. I hope you are warm. I'm not sure what it's like at the moment. I imagine probably quite cold. Now, Steph, you wanted to know if you can do any volunteer work up in this Kruger area, Greater Kruger area. There are a number of companies, Steph, that do offer volunteer work for foreigners, even for some locals, but they're a lot. Just my advice would be just be very careful of the companies you go through. Like anything, you don't want to be ripped off in any way, but there are a number of companies, a number of places you can go to and volunteer to work for a month or 2 month period if you'd like, and it's a wonderful experience for most of them. So if you are interested, do your research, have a good look at the places, look at what they do, what they offer. To be honest, I don't like these animal parks that they get volunteers to come out and work in areas where they've got caged animals. I think we have got issues with canned hunting within Africa, animals that are shot within fenced areas. You need to be very careful of that. I've got a very strong dislike towards that, and I'm very much against that. So just be careful of those places. If you can get into natural areas like the Kruger Park area or lodge areas, and that's generally a lot better. So, but yes, you can definitely do volunteer work out here. I'm still just having a quick scan around, and also, to be honest, if these cheetah are lying flat, it might be difficult to spot them, but I do think they've probably moved off, to be honest. We'll drive around a little bit more and see. Maybe they pop up. Maybe they're lying not too far from here. You never know. It's still very humid, very, very hot this afternoon. It's amazing how animals can just Debbie, you say you were wondering if it is humid today, and it is, and you say it's a good rain indicator. Well, yes, it is, and I hope we get some rain. I mean, the clouds that we could see off to my right that are forming, and every now and then we get to see a little bit of lightning. I'm just going to have another quick look around here. Let's just scan. Maybe you can watch those clouds while I do this. Just see if you get a glimpse of lightning. It is always lovely to see the lightning in the distance. As long as it's not too close, we're safe. We're always very cautious of lightning. And I know when I am on safari with guests, I do not take any chances when it comes to lightning. If we do see lightning close by, or if it is heading closer, we head back to camp, because you do not want to get caught out in a storm with lightning. Being in the rain is one thing, that's okay, but lightning is obviously very different and can be potentially dangerous. I suppose you don't want to be too brave and take chances out here. You have to be careful of the weather. And speaking of brave, Batman, our Maltese poodle Craig, he went and had root canal this morning, and then is on the vehicle filming behind me at the moment. I don't know how he does it, but I suppose that's Batman for you. You know, he's not afraid of anything, and nothing can get him down or keep him out of work. Well, we're going to search a little bit more for these cheetah, but let's get back to Tristan and get an update from him.
Welcome back, guys. So we're still slowly making our way towards the western side of our area, in any sort of sign of lions, trying to see if we can pick up any sort of tracks. At this stage, nothing that we've picked up just yet. There's been quite a lot of nice birds around. We've had lots of European rollers and woodland kingfishers, but other than that, a little bit quiet. So hopefully our luck will change in the next little bit. I'm hoping that as we kind of get into the area where hopefully these lines will be, that maybe we pick up some tracks and things will go a little bit better for us. But on our way there, we are going to just quickly swing past a water hole known as Red Dam. I'm just going to go and poke my nose in there and see if there's any sign. It's often a good place for buffalo to wallow. They like to kind of hang around there and look and go and sort of park their backsides in the mud and just cool off, especially on warm afternoons like today. What is quite nice is as we've been driving westerly, there's been a lot of cloud build-up coming from the western side, and it looks like we might get a bit of rain. There's a little bit of thunder in the air, and Dave said he spotted some lightning just now, which is all encouraging signs. It would be really, really nice to have a bit of rain to just ease this heat. So on our right hand side, there's a couple male impalas that have kind of often find them on this little area. It's a little open section next to the road here. It's known as a fire break, and so in the afternoons when it starts to kind of cool off and it starts to get a little bit darker, you'll find that these impala males, they come into these more open sections just from a safety perspective. As it gets quite sort of dark, it's often very difficult to see predators, and in these open clearings it's a much easier place to pick up lions and leopards and those things that hunt during the night. And as you can see with these guys, all of them are boys. They all have nice sets of horns. So these guys at the moment are all friends, but come April, there's going to be a lot of fighting going on when the rutting comes and the females all come into heat, and they will then start to try and dominate for territory. But nice, very, very nice. So we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. See, there is quite a nice, looks like a large bird sitting here on our right, so I'm going to just try to see if we can get a nice picture of it, just to get a positive ID. But I think it is a purple roller. I just want to see. The light unfortunately is not very, very good at all. No, sorry, so it's another lilac breasted roller, so one like we had earlier. Like I say, against that white kind of background of the clouds, quite difficult to actually pick up coloration. Alright, so while we kind of admire this lilac breasted roller, we're going to link back to James, who apparently has a very beautiful little caterpillar for you.
I do have a very beautiful caterpillar, everybody, and it is the one that many of you have seen before, but it's too beautiful not to look at again, and that is the caterpillar of the dice moth. Now, Stefan Winterboer, who is a source of great knowledge of all things, or many things, has a friend who is a source of even greater knowledge, and his name is Lee, and Lee has discovered that those strange sort of protuberances coming out of the caterpillar are in fact not without purpose, and they're basically to con any wasp that might want to come along and lay its eggs inside the caterpillar that has already been attacked by caterpillars, and those are the young wasps about to sort of emerge, and so there's no point in whatever wasp coming along bothering with trying to get hold of that caterpillar. And that, everyone, is why we think they have those things. Now I too am trying to get a photograph of this thing, but because I've never got a good one of these rather exciting things, but I'm failing dismally, as per usual. Chandra is on the ground, I'm on the ground, and I wonder what it's eating. I mean, Chandra, does it look like it's eating that grass to you? No, it just looks to be rather confused as to where it wants to be. And I wonder if it wasn't caught perhaps on the hoof or on the fur of some sort of animal, and then happened to be dropped here. Now, update on Kurula, the great queen, and Hosanna the prince, and Shongila the princess, is that they apparently were seen by a driver from Nkoro at midday round about the kill where they were yesterday. So we're not actually too far from that position now on foot, and so we're going to head off there and see what we can find. No one's been to check there in the vehicles today, and so we'll see if we can't find them on foot, which would be rather fun, I feel. So that's what we're going to try and do. That is our general modus operandi for the afternoon. We haven't found much else, I'm afraid, although we did find that buffalo, which was quite fun. Rondre, how are you feeling down there? Are you feeling all right? Jason, I agree. It's one of mine too. You say this must be one of your favourite creatures. It's certainly one of my favourite creatures. And I think that I'd really like to know where they pupate, because I've yet to see one. I don't think I've seen an adult. I'm not sure that I've ever actually seen an adult. Have you seen one, Jandri? Jandri reckons he's seen an adult. But I've never seen an adult out here, so I think they're probably very short-lived. And that's another fascinating thing about the life cycle of many insects, especially those that have a larval form. In fact, not only those that have a larval form. Often the immatures live much longer than the adults do, and we know, of course, the story of the cicada beetle, and the ones that in the United States live for 17 years before they emerge from the ground as fully fledged cicadas to sing their lovely summer songs. But you know what we found out yesterday, or not yesterday, a few days ago, is that there are a species of jewel beetles that live in the larval form for up to 35 years. Now that is an astonishing amount of time. 35 years as a larva, and then they come out very short-lived as the gorgeous jewel beetles that we so often find, often on acacia trees. Isn't that amazing? I think that's rather astounding. I can hear you all collectively going, "Yo, that's amazing." Look at the colours on this fellow. Orange and gorgeous maroon and white. Look at him go now. Oh, Rondre, he's performing for you beautifully now. Don't fall off the little grass stalk, fellow. I'm getting a bit of a crick in my neck lying on the ground like this. What a very fine fellow he is. I don't know what he eats. Maybe he eats, you know what I think he probably does eat, is that Waltheria stuff. Or flannel weed. Genre reckons he eats that firebush stuff that Steph pointed out. We're not sure what that is, actually. So many different forbs and insects and things during the course of the summer months does make it very difficult to identify everything. Ah, he's wonderful. Maureen, you're wondering about the butterflies of these caterpillars. They don't make a butterfly, they make a moth. Corrine with a C. Corrine? Oh, Corrine. I got it now. Corrine, I reckon they probably do. You want to know if the moths get eaten a little bit more than the caterpillars do. I suspect they do. They don't look anything like as intimidating as that. And remember that once they're born, most moths are actually extremely short-lived. And that's because their sole purpose is to breed and then lay eggs. And I remember this from my days as a silkworm owner. I was the worst silkworm keeper in all the school, and my silkworms normally shook off this mortal coil before they made it to the moth stage. But the few that made it to the moth stage, those silkworm moths lasted only about, I think a day or two before they died and carried on. But the caterpillars, of course, lasted much longer. And that means that the caterpillars have to be disguised, they have to be eaten less. Otherwise they don't make it to adulthood and they cannot lay their eggs. So although any number of them get eaten, I think proportionately you'll probably find that fewer. I wonder if that's true though. I think that there's more incentive, of course, for a caterpillar not to be eaten, so it's more likely that they're going to be more disguised. But there's so many of them when they're born. Thousands of them. I mean, you think of the number of eggs a single female moth can lay. I mean, hundreds to thousands. And there's nowhere near that proportion that makes it. Less than 1% of them will make it to adulthood. So we often think, of course, of the lions and the leopards as having a really rough time, given that only in the males, 1 in 10 will make it to adulthood, and then 3 in 10 also females make it to adulthood. Well, take 1 in take one in probably 500 of the eggs laid by a dice moth caterpillar will make it to adulthood. Whatever this thing eats, it is not enjoying the grass. It definitely doesn't want to eat it. So I'm not sure how it got to where it is. It's very cool. David, no, it's not quite. You're saying, is it called a dice moth because it's black and white? No, the moth itself is yellowish, a sort of pale yellow, and then it's got sort of white dice marks on its wings, and so that's why it looks like a dice. So I mean, not black and white. It's not a sort of domino color. It's like a sort of, if you imagine a yellow dice, that's what it looks like. A yellow die, of course, dice being the plural. It looks like a yellow die that you might find in a Las Vegas casino, perhaps. Right, apparently we're going to head all the way to the east to Cheetah Plains because Byron is looking for something.
I am looking for something, James. I'm looking for anything, really. Now, unfortunately, I just heard an update on the radio. The cheetah did move off this afternoon sometime, or this morning, and they crossed north towards Nkoro and Torchwood area. So unfortunately, we've got no chance of getting there to see them. So they did move off. But as I said, that's what cheetah do. They do move during the day. But you never know. We could still bump into something else around this area. I'm hoping we see something. It's been pretty quiet on the game front, on the animal front. We have seen beautiful birds, plenty of Carmine bee-eaters around at the moment. And it really is great to see them. I'm so happy we got to see them. It's so beautiful. I love seeing different birds that pop up every now and then. You're not used to seeing them. And those birds with magnificent colors, always great to see. Now I remember actually I did a trip with guests into Botswana. Now Botswana is one of my favorite countries. Very beautiful, very different to South Africa. And depending on the time of the year, you could get the floodplains in the delta that are very high and there's lots of water around. It's exquisite, it really is beautiful. And then we got to see a big colony of Carmine bee-eaters all nesting in the ground while we were in Botswana. It was so beautiful. Hundreds of them flying around and nesting in the ground. It was really amazing to see. But that's Botswana. Botswana is very, very beautiful. A lovely safari destination. Now, Tristan sounds like he's found baby pigs to show you.
Indeed we have, Byron. We have found little baby warthogs. I was hoping that we would find these guys. We had a bit of a change of plan when we were kind of coming along. We decided to save Red Dam for a little bit later, and we thought we'd just come check the airstrip in case there are some little baby piglets around. And there we go. There you have a mother with what looks like 5 little ones. She is quite a relaxed female. I have seen her on this airstrip a number of times, and generally because of the movement of the planes in and out and vehicles coming to pick up guests during the day for all the lodges that surround us, these guys often get exposed to quite a lot of traffic and movement, and so often quite relaxed. And you can see the little ones are completely unperturbed by us at this stage. They're all kind of sitting, feeding there. Got those little disc-like snouts that they're utilizing to dig up little roots and tubers. At this time of the year, though, most of what they're eating is going to be surface level, so they're going to be eating mostly little plants that are on the top of the ground, so very nutritious grass species. There's some Egyptian geese coming in. We had a small little pan here called buff pan, and these Egyptian geese are all over the place. There's quite a large colony that's developed here, and you can see they have all landed, and they've disturbed some Senegal lapwings there, which were shouting and protesting the arrival of all these bigger birds. But the impalas and the warthogs are unfazed altogether. So you'll find that with the warthog, as the female is kind of moving around, that the little ones will follow their mother very, very closely. At this age, they are very, very, very susceptible to predation, and so if they do get a little bit separated from mom, it's very likely that they'll end up being hunted. There's a multitude of predators that they have. Because of their size, you'll find that even snakes, birds of prey, and mostly leopards will go after these guys, and so you'll find that they stick right with mom. I see the one little one, unfortunately, has got a bit of a limp, so you can imagine these small little legs when they're born. The bones are still quite soft, they haven't hardened enough just yet, and so when they're running around trying to escape predation, they often kind of push their leg into a hole, and it causes either a distress of the ligaments or even sometimes a little microfracture to occur. The limp, however, is not too bad, and I'm sure with a bit of adrenaline, if a predator started to chase him, that little one would be able to run perfectly fine. But if you are a predator, that is exactly what they would be looking for. A small little limping baby warthog is the ideal snack for any predator. So Blitzcrest would like to know how dangerous warthogs are. Now, a warthog in a situation like this, in an open area, where you kind of see them from a distance and you don't really approach them too much, are actually fairly relaxed. They'll generally run away from you long before they'll do anything else. But a warthog actually can be quite dangerous, particularly big males and females with small little ones like this, if they feel like they've been cornered. So most warthogs will be living in some sort of hole in the ground, whether it be a termite mound or a patch that has been excavated by other animals, and they will then utilize that as a home. So if you happen to come upon the hole where there's warthogs living and they feel like you've kind of pushed them into that and they've got nowhere to go and they don't know what they can do, then yes, they can be very, very aggressive. And while they don't look like they have any sharp teeth or claws, they actually do have incredibly sharp teeth. They have what is known as tushes, which are these small little tusks that will stick out from the bottom of the jaw, and those little tusks, you can just see it on the female there. She's got very little ones, but those are incredibly sharp, and often if anything comes close to them or tries to attack their little ones, they'll use those to try and gore and protect themselves. And I've seen quite a few predators, particularly leopards and cheetah, that have had quite nasty experiences with warthogs and have been left with massive gashes all over them. We used to have a dominant male leopard in this area called Mafufanyan, and he once went after a warthog and paid the consequence. He got a massive gash over the top of his head. Could actually see that even the bone from his head was showing. So they are quite feisty when they want to be and can be quite dangerous. But in a situation like this, and with us as people, if you just give them enough respect and enough space, then generally they are very relaxed animals that won't go anywhere near you. But you can see how already, even though these little ones are quite small, they are still able to determine that impalas are not a threat in any way. So you can see they're very relaxed with the impala. Had you have put anything else there, they might be a little bit more nervous. You can see the impala busy watching them. So Tula Ann, who's 4 years old, would like to know why the warthogs don't oink like pigs. Well, I suppose each animal has its own sound, and these guys do make grunting sounds. It's not quite an oink like a pig makes, but they do have small little grunts that they'll make that are quite similar to pigs in some regards. But I'm not sure why they don't oink like pigs. I guess it's just they are different, much like us as people. All of us have different voices, and we have different sounds that we make, and it's the same with the animal kingdom. Even though they will be related in some way, they just have a different voice extensively. So they will be able to, project a sound that is just slightly different to the pigs. But it would be quite funny if the little warthogs did oink like pigs. It would be quite entertaining to watch them running around oinking, that's for sure. But what a beautiful scene that is on these big open clearings. And it's exactly like we were talking about earlier with the impalas, how they come out into these open sections, the warthogs as well, just to evade predation. So like I say, it's getting a little bit later. So one of you would like to know why the warthog is eating with its legs bent. So the reason why is that a warthog is... So I think it was Nerys, sorry, I didn't catch that very clearly, so if I'm pronouncing it wrong I do apologize, but Nerys, the reason is that these warthogs are quite lazy. They don't like to stretch their neck down and have to kind of exert energy to put their head right to the ground to be able to dig up. You can see that little one is using its little snout to dig up little roots, and so when they bend their legs and go down, it's a far more comfortable position for them to eat. So they're able to kind of have their head in a place where they can dig down and get underneath the soil and not have to stretch too much to feed. So quite an efficient little way of finding food. And you'll find over time their legs get quite calloused, and so it really doesn't affect them in any way. It doesn't hurt for them to do that. But yes, it's a very interesting way of feeding, isn't it? You can see the mother's doing it now as well. She's also on her knees. And like I say, it's more just a comfort thing than anything else. But I really love these little warthogs. They're super cute. So this would like to know if I have any stories of Anderson, which is a male leopard that we see in this western section that we're in now, of him hunting warthogs. I do indeed. I've actually seen him kill 2 different warthogs, both of which were quite hair-raising encounters. Both of them were quite traumatic. He went after very large adult male warthogs, and he ended up having to go into the hole and grabbing them and pulling them out, and there was lots of squealing and dust and commotion, which then attracted a lot of hyenas, and he had a huge fight with these hyenas on both occasions, and eventually the hyenas